What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about things you need to know before you visit the UK. Should this just become mandatory viewing for all Americans? I feel like Americans get kind of a bad rap, maybe rightfully so, when we visit other countries instead of gracefully absorbing the local culture and paying our respects to where we are. Americans tend to drag the Americanism out to the rest of the world wherever they go and be like, I'm here, and be loud and annoying. I hear that a lot and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what this video is going to be exactly about. Maybe how to be more respectful and some of the culture shocks of the UK so Americans can kind of get it before they go there and make a mess and stuff like that. Or maybe it's like which side of the road you should drive on so that you don't get in a head-on collision and explode. That's a good tip as well, how not to explode. So I don't know, or travel tips, stuff like that. So I'm very interested. What are the things that you should know before you visit the UK? So let's find out.
And today what we have for you are what you should know before you come to the UK so you can have a better time when you do visit. And we've got videos on what to know before you come to London, what to know before you come to Scotland, what to know before you come...
So that actually clears it up a little bit. He was saying things you should know so you have a better time. So yeah, I mean, does that clear it up? So you can have a better time when you do visit. So maybe just ways to have a better vacation, I guess?
All-together one for the UK and Great Britain. Now, not Ireland, but we'll do Northern Ireland in there, okay? So I kind of want to focus on these things so you have a better idea of what to expect when you do come here, okay? And I know I'm filming this here in London, but like I want you to know is London is not all of the UK. The UK has got so many diverse parts.
I mean, that sounds so obvious, but that's actually a good advice for Americans in particular. Like when Americans visualize the UK, they don't even really know what that means, for one thing, what countries are in the UK, but they don't even have anything to picture, really. And that was very true for me for the longest time as well. When you picture the UK, we just think about London, which is kind of silly. We think about Big Ben, the bell tower, like, oh, you're going to the UK, I'll meet you on top of the bell tower, I guess, because that's the only thing there. But no, it is actually good advice that he points this out.
Wales, that's very much a outdoor adventure stuff. Going to Snowdonia National Park, Pembrokeshire Coast there, the Brecon Beacons and seeing those things. Going up to Scotland and seeing the Isle of Skye and the waterfalls and all the stuff up there, the Highlands and the castles is just so...
You just don't... I mean, he's showing some of these clips that, I mean, you just don't find stuff like this in America. The castles and the old buildings. And
beautiful. If you're going to the mid...
I mean, that is ridiculous.
Midlands, you see the stately homes and stuff like that. There's a lot of really great stuff to see throughout the United Kingdom, not just here in London. So that's the first thing is make sure you're getting down to London to go explore.
Oh, so that's the tip. Okay, that's a good tip. Things to know before you visit the UK is don't just get obsessed with London. I feel like that's so true. That's like the bucket list item for like 99% of Americans. Like, I gotta visit London one day. Well, you're in the UK. There's a whole lot more stuff there as well. A lot of mind-boggling stuff as well. So that's actually a good one. I feel like that might seem obvious, but to Americans, it's not actually.
Even if you can only do day trips, sometimes long day trips to go see Stonehenge or Bath or getting down to Brighton and stuff like that, you can do those. But if you run
a day trip to Stonehenge, imagine that. That's another thing I forget about. How small the UK is compared to America. Like, it takes forever to get anywhere in America. Like, you can't even get out of your own state in forever. But in the UK, you can like drive down to Stonehenge for a day or something. It's wild to think about.
In a car and go and explore more, you can see so much more of the UK very easily. And I guess I should start talking about transportation. Look, if you're going to come to the UK, I highly recommend renting a car. Now, don't be scared because they do drive on the left side of the road.
Right, he said it. He said the thing. I knew this. I knew this video would have one tip in particular. Drive on the correct side of the road, which is the right side, No, in the UK it's the left. I better make sure not to actually confuse that in my mind.
So you're kind of like, wait, they drive over here. I don't want to get in an accident. It can be a bit hair-raising at first, but I'll be honest, after about half an hour, you're totally used to the roundabouts and driving on the other side of the road, that you get used to it, okay?
Half an hour to get used to it? I swear, I don't know about that. I feel like a lot of Americans, I'm afraid, would be driving, and they're like, I'm okay, I'm on the left side, I'm okay, and then just like flip out and be like, I don't know where I am, and because you spend your entire life, years and years and years, driving on one side of the road. And I feel like if you just started driving on the other side, your brain would just flip upside down and like tell your body something's wrong. I don't know, maybe that's an irrational fear or something.
And the thing is, to go see the villages and go see the sights and the castles and the ruins and the palaces and stuff like that, you really need to have your own car to really get around and enjoy the UK. So I want to put that out there. Now,
okay, so his tip is to rent a car. That sounds awful expensive. Like, renting a car for a day can be so expensive in the United States. I don't know the last time I saw, but I feel like it could be $100 or $200 a day to rent a car. Is that? I guess it depends on what kind of car you get and your budget and money management, but I don't know. But it obviously makes a lot of sense for getting the full experience. So I get it.
One thing I'll say, though, is if you don't want to rent a car, you can use public transportation here very easily. There's a huge bus system. There's a huge train system that will get you where you want to go. I will say, though...
That's very different. In the United States, it's not an option. Like, you need a car. You need one, end of story, no conversation. At least in the UK, there's like an option of public transportation, which is another thing that would kind of scare me as well, because there's all these getting off and on at the right parts and paying the machine and having the ticket, and I bet that sounds so silly. But again, when you spend your whole life getting everywhere, needing a car, public transportation becomes complicated, honestly.
The bus system is the cheapest way to go. The trains can be very pricey, okay? So if you want to do a day trip, maybe do a return trip and not spend the night, because then it's actually a lot cheaper to just go back and forth. But just know you do have those options. Now, when you're going around town, pretty much anywhere you go in the UK, you'll be able to get your Ubers and stuff like that, or the black cabs like here in London and the cabbies and things like that. There's a lot of apps out there that can help you get rides and stuff like that, so do look into those.
Oh, that's right. That's kind of a good tip too. Like, we're in the future. There's like apps and stuff to help you with all the public transportation that exists in the UK now. I never think about that. How it's probably a lot easier than it used to be, honestly.
So that's kind of helpful when you are here. One thing I'd say is if you're like here in London, if you're going to get into a cab, make sure you ask them, hey, I want to go here. Is that okay? And they'll say, hop on in. Okay, so give you a heads up for that. Now, I know when you're driving around, I talked about how the trains are expensive. You might worry about, like, how do I pay? What's the money like here? Well, they use the British pound here. Okay, the British pound is the currency in the UK.
Such a beautiful note. This is not supposed to be a pound appreciation video, but whenever I see it like this, like, that is so much more aesthetically pleasing than our disgusting American dollars. Like the color and the portrait and the shiny stickers and even the font, I gotta tell you. Anyway, since we're looking at it, I had to say something.
And the thing is, if you're in Northern Ireland or if you're in Scotland, you might see a different version of the British pound. The Northern Ireland pound or the Scottish pound, they might be different. And the thing is, technically they should be accepted anywhere in the United Kingdom, but some places are like, I'm not going to take that Scottish pound.
What? I did not know about that. That there's like a Scottish version of the pound or a Northern Ireland pound or a Wales pound or... And some places might accept them all, some might not. That is not even... That's a good one. That is something I had absolutely no clue about. No clue. That is a... Man, that's very interesting.
So I do recommend, if you're going to get some of the different pounds, like the Scottish ones and stuff, when you're leaving Scotland, try to exchange it out for like the British pounds, just to save yourself the headache later on.
There's a British pound that's different than a Scottish pound? But Scotland is part of Britain. I don't understand. But this is This is something you actually need to know before visiting the UK, especially if you're traveling a lot. That could, or or you could just have a credit card or something. But this is actually pretty interesting.
If you're looking to get cash out, ATMs are all over the place. It's not a problem. However, I will tell you this. Most places prefer you to use card. I mean, I tried to buy some gifts for Jocelyn today. Yeah. They're like, can you use your card? Because we don't have change. I mean, this is very much a card-based society. And if you...
Oh, okay, perfect. That fixes a lot of things. Card-based society. The UK is a card-based society. America is, like, largely, for the most part, as well. I think it took us a bit of time to catch up in comparison to the UK, but now you use a card for everything. Perfect, especially in the UK where there's actually different types of money notes. Huh.
You have the contactless card where you just touch and go. I really recommend getting those because you can use those here in London on the public transportation or getting snacks and stuff like that.
What on earth was this? I'm so... He's just showing the most random stuff. Bara Brith slices, tea-soaked vine fruits, marmalade, and spices? Okay. Things to know before you get to the UK. You might run into some Bara Brith slices. Low fat, though.
Stuff like that. It makes life a lot easier, okay? Now, if you're going to be coming with money from other countries, if you're in the bigger cities, there are exchange houses, so it's not hard to exchange money, airports and stuff like that. It's not too bad. If you're in the backwoods or if you're out exploring and driving around, then it does get a little more complicated, okay? So that's why I say is make sure you let your local bank know that you're going to be traveling so you can take money out on your home bank ATM at ATMs that are at banks here. That's going to be probably your best exchange rate, okay? Now, in terms of visiting the UK, in terms of prices, it's not cheap coming here, especially London. Like, London is one of the most expensive cities in the world for transportation, for eating, for staying, accommodation, stuff like that.
Oh, that makes sense. I don't even think that's supposed to be one of his tips, but that's a good thing to remember so you're not absolutely shocked. Like, especially me I don't live in like a giant major American city like New York, or else I might have known this already. But yeah, huge cities, especially like London, are really, really, really expensive, aren't they? Yeah, that's actually helpful to know as well.
So do have a heads up. But the thing is, once you kind of leave that like London area, prices drop. The farther you go north, the farther you go west, the farther they fall down.
Just another reason to get your tuchus out of London and explore the UK. You save money. you get a bigger experience and stuff is cheaper. That's a good tip. These are actually pretty good.
So you can actually have a kind of affordable trip coming here. Like if you're going to go to Bath, you're going to go to Wales, or going up to Scotland, it can be a lot more affordable. I know for me, I love going to York. I mean, that place is awesome.
York.
That's what I'm saying. If you got a chance to go there, okay?
Right. There's so many. That's going back to this is like, there's so many. I found out there's so many cities other than London that are like big, historical, popular, vibrant, amazing places to visit in the UK. And it's like most Americans just don't have that mentality, and cheaper as well.
Because there's a lot, your money goes a lot farther when you are there, okay? Now, in terms of other things you might want to know when you're here, if you're looking at accommodation, now, the historic bed and breakfasts throughout the UK, those are the ones I highly recommend.
Bed and breakfast. I've heard that term. I've never been to a bed and breakfast. I thought those only existed in movies or something. Is that a UK thing or a British thing? Bed and breakfast? Is that what people in the UK call just like a hotel? Or does it have to be a specific kind of hotel that has a big breakfast, I guess? Or I just never, ever hear that word, bed and breakfast.
You're going to be driving around, you need a place to park. The B&Bs, they'll be able to hook you up. And you get to stay in the countryside and stuff like that.
The B&Bs. Oh, look at this thing.
Have that, English breakfast or a Scottish breakfast or a Welsh breakfast or the Welsh cakes and stuff like that. You'll have those when you go to the B&Bs.
B&Bs, I'm going to look this up. UK bed and breakfast. Oh, they have guides for this stuff. They have ways to book it online. What is all this? Oh, yeah. Sure enough. Lots of bed and breakfast. Only $55 a night for this one? $66, pretty, like, good rates as well. Especially if they're gonna fill you up with a big old English or a Scottish breakfast as well. That sounds, there's something about bed and breakfast. I kind of like saying it as well.
Highly recommend that. At least you get to stay in one or two while you are in the UK. And the thing is sometimes you can't do that. Like, oh, in London, it's a little bit tougher to find a B&B, or in Manchester. What? So there are hotels there.
What on earth is this? What am I looking at? I see a tomato and bread. Anyway, is this what they feed you?
There are chain hotels, no problem. I'm here for a convention right now, and I'm staying at a DoubleTree because that's at the convention center. So you do have those options there.
Okay, so get a bed and breakfast. Book early if you want to stay in places like the Isle of Skye or the Shetland Islands in summer. Book early. That's just good travel advice in general, huh?
And I'm staying at a DoubleTree because that's at the convention center. So you do have those options there. I will say, make sure when you're booking your rooms, if you're coming as a family, put how many kids you have and adults, because you just do that kind of like the traditional, just, I want a hotel room. They might only give you like a 1-bedroom, like with one bed. And if you need more space, you might want to let them know that so everything can...
Man, he makes this sound kind of like old-fashioned or something. Wouldn't you be booking this online? Like on a website or something, where you'd be like clicking the little picture of little children icon to add them in, or I hope so. Goodness knows I need that level of simplicity.
Can be taken care of. Now, if you're going to be here, you're probably going to say, hey, Mark, what do I eat when I'm here? One thing that's cool about the UK is you have a lot of mixtures of people from all over Europe and all over the world here. So you have a lot of really good food. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. You think, Britain, food, good? What? That's crazy.
I think he's being sarcastic. What is this? Yeah, like shellfish or something? That's a good point as well. Like, I think myself and Americans, usually when we picture British food, it's very stereotypical. But honestly, it's a lot more diverse than that, because there's a lot of different people all over the world coming to visit the UK and all the places in it. London, huge diverse hub. But I certainly don't picture getting shellfish when I picture traveling to the UK. That's interesting.
Oh no, the foodie revolution has really come to Britain, and you can eat really well, and you can have great international fare. You know, the Indian food here is fantastic. You can get
the Indian, yeah, like the Indian food is good in the UK. Like I would probably have avoided it on purpose, thinking like, oh, this isn't traditional British food, or probably isn't very good because Britain isn't known for Indian food, but apparently it kind of is, or at least it's known for having diverse food. Good, diverse food, which is pretty cool. And apparently a scoop your own candy little thingamajig. Always stop and grab some sweets. It's a good tip as well.
Get all kinds of good stuff there. But I know most people, when they come here, they want to think of like the British food. Yeah. And we have a whole video on food in England that'll just kind of help you out there. And I do recommend you checking it out. But like breakfast, yes, you're going to have your full English breakfast with the...
Oh, is this a full English breakfast? I don't know what some of this stuff is, and that scares me. What is that thing on the right? What is that? Because it looks like a hamburger. What's that white stuff on the left? I see the tomato again, and that dang piece of bread. What's that stuff on the bottom? And bacon. There's bacon. That's good.
Beans and the tomato and stuff like that, and the eggs and the...
There, this looks better. Okay, couldn't he have shown this, for goodness sake? Thank you. Show this when you're demonstrating the full English breakfast. Sausage, there's a mushroom, some eggs, toast, and beans, of course, beans.
The bacon and things like that, you will have that. But when you're going around during the day, kind of like the staple British stuff, you might get a beef burger, or you might get a meat pie, or a chicken pie, or something like that.
Can't go wrong with fish and chips. You can't. I mean, I do feel like when you're in the UK, especially for the first time, like I'd have to get the classic British stuff. But it is good, like, knowledge that he's giving to open my brain to the possibilities of other kinds of food as well that could be very good, that I don't typically associate with being British.
Also, you know, fish and chips from a chippy is kind of a traditional thing to have when you are here. And you can eat at the pubs when you're here. You can go to restaurants. There's just tons of options out there. In terms of tipping...
Wow, okay. You know what? I think this video is actually pretty long. I'm actually really enjoying the tips he's giving. They're quite useful, especially if you're, I mean, believe it or not, if you're going to visit the UK, like for vacation, like an American might do, this is very good advice, actually. It's like advice and tips and rules kind of all mixed together. His video is pretty long, so I think I'm going to stop here for now and continue the second half in part 2. So if you've enjoyed this so far, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, perhaps with things you believe Americans should know before they visit the UK, and just to see part 2 as well. Feel free to subscribe for more videos like this, me talking about the UK culture, stuff in the UK I've never seen before. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.